Hello. I think I am broadcasting live now. Welcome. My name is Dan. I have been spending about an hour trying to set up some lights in here, and I'm looking at myself and I feel like I look a little bit reddish, orangish. And then if I come over here to this camera view, I look much paler. So I still think I need to do some white balance work. But if you are watching this live, I don't know if anybody actually is, please let me know in the chat if you can hear me okay, if you can see me okay, if the font and code is legible here, and in particular, if you can kind of read and see what's on the whiteboard over here. I have a new whiteboard, and that camera just went off. I'm going to turn that back on. One of these days I will begin these video streams without simply saying I'm testing things, but I'm still sort of in that process, and I think next week I'm going to really be hitting the ground running, although I think I still need, I've got some lighting and camera stuff that I've got to improve in here still. Okay, are you there? I'm going to go check the chat. Everything okay, says one person, which is very nice to hear. I've got 3 people watching. I sent out an email announcement. Oops, I'm going to check this computer here. And looks pretty decent. I'm going to check my, okay. And, uh-oh. Uh-oh. Look at this. Okay, so I signed up for MailChimp in order to take people's email addresses to send out email announcements when I go live. And I wrote a quick email. It was about 1 sentence with a link to YouTube Live. And it says here, I got a message from MailChimp back that says, our automated abuse prevention system, Omnivore, reviewed your account. It detected content or actions with either conflict with our acceptable use policy or present a significant risk to our deliverability. Your account has been disabled. You may log in at any time to export and back up your account data, download reports, or close the account permanently. So I guess I sent it, just to do it quickly, I made it plain text, and I pasted a link to YouTube, and maybe that's somehow not something I'm supposed to do. I'll have to look at that later. So no one got that announcement. Yeah. So I only have 4 people watching currently live, which is just fine because I'm kind of, today is a kind of extra, this probably makes a very strange sound. I don't know why I picked that up. I didn't really eat a very big breakfast, and I haven't had lunch since 12:30, but I have somewhere I have to go about 1:30, so I'm just going to give this a whirl, and what I want to do is at least kind of try out my new whiteboard. I'm going to erase this. And I'm going to go to my list of topics, which is over here. And I thought something that has been requested quite a few times is P5.js instance mode, which is something you need if you want to namespace your JavaScript thing, or if you want to have multiple canvases on a single page. So I thought that might be a good topic just as kind of a one-off. Make a 10 to 15 minute tutorial about writing a sketch in P5.js instance modes. That's what I'm planning to do. I'm also happy here to answer any just general questions about processing or P5, whip up an example on the fly based on somebody's question, so you can ask those in the chat. How's everybody doing here? Oh, it's just me. Okay. All right, so I think I'm gonna get started. I should have gotten some water. If you don't mind, I'm gonna go get a glass of water and I'll be right back. You will still be able to hear me because I have a wireless mic as I go and get water, but I'll be right back. Talk amongst yourselves in the chat and I'll be right back. Let's get a glass of water. Here I come back. I am coming back. I have returned. I really should tape down the wires on the floor because there's a wire right there and I could easily just trip over it, but I'll do that another day. Okay, let me check the chat. I've got 6 people, 7 people. People are joining. So I'm kind of like stalling a little bit for no good reason. Is this my magic glass? Look at this magic glass. It is a glass of water, and it is no longer a glass of water. Okay. La Champleur writes, hello, I'm here for the dancing lesson. Well, the only thing I know, I think, dancing-wise, is the hand jive, which is... We'll see if somebody wants to make a GIF of that one. Somebody sent me a GIF of something else, and I posted it, and people seem to enjoy it. Okay, so practice that and enjoy. Okay, so I'm going to look at P5JS instance mode. So let me get myself set up for this. I made myself a little bit bigger. I don't know if you noticed, I'm only in the corner here. You can see if I move my arms out here, that's actually the camera. Only goes this high and only goes over to here. It actually extends all the way this way, so I can stand over here and I'm still, so I really should probably have the laptop over here and move this light over a little bit. Hold on, I'm rearranging. I didn't realize the way this is, it's better for me to be further over because I will block less. Better. And the water can go here. Okay, so this is weird because the camera, it just like looks like it's not pointed at me at all. But right now I'm looking straight at the camera. I can't, but I have to look over here to see my preview screen. Anyway, but I can type here and then I can point over here and gesture and look at this stuff. Okay, this is working. So P5JS instance mode. Let's see if there's anything else that I wanted to do instead of that. No. Oh, I did this. So many things. These are going to be good, but I got to be, this I'm excited about. Chrome extensions, did I miss that one? Somewhere here. Let's see if anybody has written any comments down at the bottom here. No, 15 days ago. I've seen these. Okay, so here we go. Instance mode. I'm going to do it. Okay, as 8 people watching. Okay, so I'm going to minimize this. I am here. And before we get to instance mode, I'm going to just make some code here. So we have something to work with. And let's do this. And let's run this. And we can see, let's make that quite a bit bigger. And give it some alpha. Okay, so there we go. So this is going to be my sketch that I'm going to turn into instance mode. We'll talk about why you might want to use instance mode and all that sort of thing. So I'm going to wipe my glasses. Okay, and just for fun, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a minute here, and I'm going to look for my tape. You know, I need one of those. I should just get a GoPro and put it on my head, and then I could have that also be a feed into the live stream, and you guys could see me. I don't know where that tape went. You know what? It's fine. I just won't trip over this wire today. It's going to be fine. Okay, now I'm over here and I'm talking to this camera. Does that work? Okay. Is shaders on the list? Someone asks. Shaders is not currently on the list, mostly because I'm not really a shaders kind of person. But I think that would be worth adding to the list and taking a look at some point, in particular in the context of processing versus WebGL and that type of thing. So I'm adding that to my mental list right now. That might take me a while to get to that. If you're looking for a good to learn shaders, oh, I'm on the wrong computer, I do have a recommendation for you. Something called The Book of Shaders by Patrizio. I Googled it, and here it is, The Book of Shaders. This is, come on, Internet. refresh. This is a wonderful set of tutorials and materials about shaders, and I would highly recommend it as a good place to get started. And what I will do is I will read this, learn it, and then make some videos based on it, inspired by it, perhaps, if I can get myself to know about shaders. Okay, so that's that, shaders. Close this, minimize this, and we're going to talk about instance mode. Okay. Oh, whoops. Okay, put this back here. Checking the chat. Okay, here we go. 12 people are here, and I'm going to begin. I feel ready. I have an eraser. I have a whiteboard marker. I have a glass of water. And all I have to do is walk over here and hit a button. And I wonder if I can do it like this. Sorry, I could always edit out the beginning part. Hello. I have space here now. I'm walking back and forth. Hello. In this video, I am going to talk about P5JS instance mode. What is P5JS instance mode? Why would you want to use it? All of these strange questions will have an answer to them, perhaps, by the time I get to the end of this video, I hope. Okay, let's just see how this goes. Okay, so first of all, here I am in a room with a screen behind me, kind of. And if I press Command R and run this P5JS sketch, I can move my mouse around and draw some nice purple circles. So this is a P5JS sketch. It has a setup, it has a draw. Now actually, let me add something to this P5JS sketch. Let me add a variable, x, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the ellipse at x, and I'm going to say x equals x plus 5, and if x is greater than width, x equals 0. So I'm going to do that. And oh, I'm going to save this as instance mode. Now I'm going to run it. So you can see now the circle is moving across the screen automatically, but it moves with my Y position. So this is a P5JS sketch. I just start this whole video over because I'm kind of I feel like I need to get into it a little bit faster. I'm like tired today. I could do this. I realize I want to have a global variable in this sketch, so I'm going to change the way the sketch works. And I'm going to say I'm going to change this sketch. How much time do I have here? 12:47. I'm good. And if I run this, okay. So I'm just going to have the circle move randomly, and let's say no stroke, and give it even more alpha. Okay, so this is my ghostly moving circle, which kind of does this. Okay, random walking circle. Okay, so I'm going to start this over. This is going to be the sketch. And talk about P5JS instance mode. Hello, Juan Vargas. Just got here in time. Okay, here we go again. Hello. In this video, I'm going to talk about something called instance mode in terms of P5JS. This is also sometimes kind of referred to as namespacing, like all these terms. I hope that, okay, last time. 15 people are here. I have to just like power through this. Even though I'm tired, hungry, there's a reason for making this video, and I'm going to do it. Hello. In this video, I'm going to talk about something called P5JS instance mode. What is that? Why would you want to use it? What's the point of that? Well, okay, so by the way, this is also sometimes related or referred to as namespacing in JavaScript. So what do I mean by namespacing, instance mode, that sort of thing? So look at this, a P5JS sketch, a single global variable x, a function setup, and a function draw. I hit run, and we see this nice purplish circle moving about, kind of painting on the screen. You know, this is the kind of stuff we do Every day in our lives, make these little P5 sketches with these purple circles, that type of thing. So, where might this need more than just this? Instance mode. Why would you need instance mode? Okay, so here's one scenario. Let's say I wanted to do this. And let's make this canvas smaller, 200, 200. And let's make it, what if I wanted to have two canvases in the window? So when I run this sketch and I look at the browser page, I would see somehow like two different canvases. Well, clearly that doesn't work. P5.js in its default global mode, plain old regular way it's written, you can't actually add two canvases to the page. So this is one reason why you need instance mode. Here's another reason. What if I were to say something like, var window equals hello? Now, I wonder if this will break everything. It's giving me a warning, by the way. Let's run this. Okay, so this happened to work, but it's a little bit dangerous. And let's see what the warning is, right? Look at this, redefinition of window. So window is a very important key global variable that just exists in JavaScript in the browser. It's a variable that's referring to the window object, this window, that's the whole sort of like browser window itself. But I want to have like a window variable in my P5.js sketch because I like the word window and it's what I want to name my variable. This is a problem because I don't want to mess with the global namespace. So that sounds like a horrible thing, global namespace, and for the most part in your life, I hope you don't have to worry about the global namespace, but sometimes you do. And in the way that you write P5.js code, saying function setup, function draw, var x, all those things are global variables that exist across all of your JavaScript code. So if you also are incorporating other libraries like D3 or Popcorn or some other thing, that you might have variable names conflict with other things, and this can be a problem. So in essence, namespacing is the act of saying all of the variables and things associated with my particular program are going to be under a particular name. Like I'm always going to say, instead of var x, I'm always going to say shiftman.x. Instead of var window, I'm always going to say shiftman.window. So shiftman.window can never conflict with the global window because it isn't the global window, it's shiftman.window. So these are the main two reasons. If you're in some kind of complex scenario where namespacing, having everything in your P5 sketch under a particular name becomes important to you, or simply if you need more than one canvas on the screen, in the window itself, these are reasons why you need instance mode. So hopefully that makes sense. Let's actually look at, here's the thing though, if you don't really need instance mode, maybe you don't want instance mode because it's like a lot of extra code to write and it looks a little bit confusing, but it is interesting and you might learn something if you're still watching this video. Okay, here we go. So what I want to do is go back to this sketch just the way it was. Now, where's the bottom of the editor window? Oh, I'm zoomed in, no wonder. So let me move this back over here. Let me look at where I am. I'm standing next to the code, great. So the first thing I want to do is figure out how we're going to write the instance mode. Oh, I was going to use the whiteboard. Forget it. I had a new whiteboard I was going to use, but this video doesn't really merit it. We'll see. So basically what I want to do is I want to say something like this. This is the idea of namespacing. I want to create an actual object, right? This is, P5 does this kind of magically for you. You shouldn't be able to do what we just did. It's just like write a setup function and somehow it magically gets triggered, and write a draw function and somehow magically it loops. P5 is written this way so that you can kind of get started quickly, and behind the scenes it's like looking for a global setup function and looking for a global draw function. But ultimately what exists is like a P5 object, and I'm calling it my P5. Excuse me, I want to make a new P5 object. And that new P5 object should have in it all of the variables associated with my sketch and all of the functions associated with my sketch, the setup, the draw, all that sort of stuff. So this is the idea, but now inside this thing called sketch, I need to put all of the stuff. Sketch should have X in it. Sketch should have setup in it, et cetera, et cetera. So the way that I write this, and it's going to look a little bit weird, is like this. I want to now make a sketch variable, which is a function, like this. So this is known as, this is a function. A function is called sketch. The function takes an argument called p. I could name that whatever I want. Maybe I'll call it p5. I don't know. Let's just call it p. I pause for a second. Let's look. Hold on. I'm just going to look over here on my cheat sheet for a second. I should have had this up. Oh my goodness. Edit this out of this video, or loop the Jeopardy music over. I just want to see. Okay, I'm doing this right. I knew I was right. So I need to create, it's actually the closure. Oh, I shouldn't have said closure. I never say closure in a video. It makes everybody very uncomfortable. But I do have some other videos about this thing called a JavaScript closure. But the idea is that I have this function called sketch, and I'm going to attach all of the things that are going to be part of this actual P5 sketch. So I'm going to say p.x equals, actually, I'm going to say p.setup equals function. And I'm going to say p.draw equals function. And now it can go and get this code. And it can go in here, but I need to say p.createCanvas, p.x, p.y, p.background. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pause. I'm going to go back. I'm going to hit stop here for a second. I'm going to go back because I lost my train of thought. Then I had to look something up. I don't know why I'm in this mode of fixing my mistakes, because the mistakes sometimes are what make everything work. But I'm just going back for a second. Okay. Maybe you guys have some questions that are in the chat. Hopefully you can still hear me and see everything. I'm going to take a look at the chat really briefly. Okay, some people people arrived. People are saying nice things, putting in nice little emojis into the chat. Thank you. Okay, thanks all for the nice comments. Okay, I'm going to pick up from a certain point and splice it together. Okay, so I don't remember. The problem is I don't remember anything that I did. So I think I'm going to try to pick up from somewhere around the point where I was talking about what to put in Sketch. So I'm going to try that. An awkward edit probably just happened right now because I went off on a tangent and then I stopped and I restarted. So this will get edited together. Hello, but I believe I last left off talking about the fact that I want to make this P5 object that holds everything. It has my X in it, it has my setup in it, it has my draw in it, but, whoa, did this actually work? Yeah. Hold on a second, everybody. I'm going to do this one more time. See, here's the problem. I know what I'm going to do. Brilliant. My example had a flaw in it, which was, I know the sketch is not defined. Okay, great. And so hold on. Am I still recording? Oh, I'm still recording this. Stop. Everything's going to be okay, everybody. I think I've got it now. Okay. Hi, everybody. People are saying hi in the chat. It's very nice. I'm in the middle of trying to make a tutorial about P5 instance mode, but I've messed it up like 15 times. But I think now I'm kind of back. Okay. Awkward edit just happened because I messed something up and went off on a tangent, but I'm back now. And the point where I left you was, And I also made some changes to the code. They're very slight. Pause, look at it, nothing important. But the point where I am at is, instead of having all of this stuff in the global namespace, a global X, a global Y, a global setup, a global draw, what I want is to smush everything inside of this object, this new P5 object I'm making, which I'm storing in a variable called my P5. So how do I do that? Well, we see that there's this line of code that says my P5 equals a new P5, and then we're passing in this thing called sketch. So sketch, the variable sketch, is actually going to serve essentially as the template for the thing that's actually going to run. So I make a variable called sketch, which actually equals a function, which is a little bit weird, but this is just kind of how things, when you don't know what something should be in JavaScript, it probably should just be a function. It's actually, this is a closure, and just even saying that, that's why I had to stop the video and start over. So I don't want to go down that road. But you can think of this function as the template for creating the P5 sketch. So the line of code that says var my P5 equals new P5 is actually making the P5 sketch, causing it to run. And this thing called sketch is where I'm going to put in all the pieces. So I need both of these things. Without the template, I can't have the sketch. But I can't make a sketch without the template. So let's look at how we do that. So notice how this function takes an argument, and I arbitrarily called it P, because P is the thing that I'm going to attach all the stuff that's going to go in the sketch to. I'm going to say p.x equals 100 and p.y equals 100. And then I'm going to say p.setup equals function. And I'm going to say p.draw equals function. So now this, you can see I'm filling in, I'm namespacing everything. I'm putting everything under this variable p. p.setup, p.draw, p.x. And then we can see what's the other stuff that goes in setup. I can copy this and get it, and I can say p.createCanvas and p.background. I can zoom out a little bit. I can go down here, I can get all this stuff that was in draw, and I can delete all of this now. I don't need any of this global stuff anymore, and I can paste this all in here and say p.fill, p.stroke, and p.ellipse, and p.x, and p.y, and p.x, I should make this in a song, and p.y, and p.random, and p.random, but I don't need to say p.10 because 10 is a number. Okay, and now I run this. It doesn't work. What did I get wrong? Is there an error? No error. Okay, so hold on. Let's look at this. This looks pretty good to me. What I did is I created, you know what? I wonder if this actually needs to be below. Uncaught reference error. So interestingly enough, I was like muttering under my breath a mistake that I made, but I need to declare the template first and fill everything in before I can actually make that P5 object. Now I did get an error, uncaught reference error, X is not defined. Line 14, look at that. X and Y are no longer global variables. They're namespaced under this thing called P, p.x, p.y. And there we go. Now we have our sketch, and I wish this sketch wasn't so long. I'll remove a few line breaks here just so you can kind of see it all on this one page. But you can see now, here's the template for the sketch, everything namespace, and now I'm creating that sketch. Now, there's some interesting things going on here. For example, what if I'm going to do something totally insane? But what outside of this, what if I were to say set timeout? This is a JavaScript function, by the way, a JavaScript function that allows you to do what? Trigger event, like I'm going to reset background. I'm off on a little bit of a tangent here, but that's okay. And I'm going to do that in 3 seconds, 3,000 milliseconds. Then I'm going to define that function, reset background. And in that function, I'm going to say my p5.background 51. So look at this. That sketch, that P5 sketch, is now inside of this object, my P5. So elsewhere in the code, right, this is how I might use P5 in connection with another library. If I'm in some other piece of code that's completely outside of the whole setup and draw and P5 thing, I can reference that sketch, call functions on it, execute variables in it by saying my P5. So if I say my P5.x, I'm talking about this particular x up here. But remember, in the template, everything's getting attached to P, which gets put into Sketch, and Sketch then gets made into myp5, and after the fact now, everything associated with that sketch is in the variable myp5. So let's see if this works, and I can run this, and we can count to 3. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, right? And if I change this to set interval, we can say 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, background. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, background. 1, 1,000. Oh, the thing went off. You know what I should do is I should also say myp5.x is in the middle. Now look at this, myp5.y. Now look at this. What's wrong with this? Something is horribly wrong here. Not horribly wrong here, right? Remember, everything is namespace. Width and height don't exist in the global world. So I need to say myp5.width, myp5.height, and I can run this now. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. Okay, so you can see that this works, and it's kind of a nice thing that you've got. And you know, it's hard to see, and that camera went off, but I'm going to turn it back on. It's hard. It might be a little bit harder to see the value here just in this sort of like trivial example, but you could imagine if you've got a lot of code that this could be useful. But one more thing let's do before we go in this video, which is probably about 12 minutes so far, is let's look at how this can allow you to have 2 canvases on the same page. So let's look at that. So one thing I could do is I could rename this to Sketch 1. Actually, insanely, here's something that's kind of insane. Before I even do that, let's call this myp5.1, and let's just do this, myp5.2. Look at this, and I'm going to run this. Look at that, 2 on the page operate. So I could just duplicate that sketch, by the way, without, only one of them. Let's do this, this reset background thing. So I duplicate that sketch, but notice only one of them is getting its background reset because I'm only referring to that one. So I don't know if you're following me because I just I'm thinking of this weird stuff on the fly, but this is actually kind of great about instance mode. I made this template for a sketch, object-oriented programming, hello. I made this template for the sketch, right? And then I'm baking copies of it, and I don't have to rewrite that code. I could just duplicate it, and we could write this in a loop and suddenly have hundreds of these on the page, all as separate canvases. But you'll notice that I could also say, I could call this Sketch 1, and I could call this Sketch 2, and I could, I'm going to do something totally uninteresting here, which is just basically have it be the same sketch, but with different color, and you can see now I have 2 sketches, 2 canvases on the same page. I can refer to them as myp5.1. I don't like my names here. myp5.1 in somewhere else. So what instance mode allows you to do is take all the stuff that you would normally write globally and put it inside of this function, this closure function, this function that and attach everything to this variable p, p.x, p.y, p.setup, p.draw. Then you have this template for making versions of that sketch that will appear on the page, and you can control whether they get made yes or no. So hopefully this makes sense to you, and you might find this useful in different scenarios where you need it. I'm often saying oh, to do that, I think you need instance mode. And now I can point people to this video. And so ask your questions in the comments. If you make something if you're looking to do some kind of weird experiment, maybe fill the screen with 100 copies of the same sketch and see what happens that way. And also, what happens when you start integrating the DOM library with this stuff. That's kind of interesting to think about. Using P5 in conjunction with another library and namespacing it. Try this stuff out. If you do anything, share it in the comments below. And I look forward to seeing you in another video in the future. Okay, everyone. Yeah, everyone. So some people have joined. So the reason why the email alerts didn't go through is because somehow I violated MailChimp's policy, and I have a feeling now that you can't sign up either. So let me see. I'm going to have to fix this. Let me go to. So one thing I did is, ignore this. If I go to Schiffman.net. And make this a little bit bigger. There's a place where I could sign up. Let's see if this works. Yeah, I have a feeling that MailChimp has shut me down, so I'm gonna have to fix that somehow. Oh well. But as soon as I get back to my computer and off making these videos, I will do that. But I'm happy to take some questions for the next 10 or 15 minutes if there's anybody in the chat with questions. Maybe I'll quickly post to Twitter that I'll be live for 10 more. Oh, somebody actually wrote a question on Twitter. Hello. This comes from @Kuhualin. Hello, is it possible to have color map and color bar in processing, or I have to draw an image and overlay text from scratch? I'm not sure I entirely understand that question. Is it possible to have color map and color bar in processing, or I have to draw an image and overlay text from scratch? I think maybe the question is asking if you can have like a color picker in processing, and there's no automatic way to do that. I'm quickly launching processing here. Is it open? In other words, all processing does is create a window. You write some code, it launches the window. You don't really get anything for free that you can put GUI stuff, that sort of thing. However, somebody could easily write a library for processing that allows you to have that. I don't know that one exists for a color picker. There is actually a color picker which is part of the interface itself under here, color selector. So you actually can use this as, this is not something that's launching as part of your code or your program, but if you're looking for a quick way to pick colors and see RGB values inside processing, that does exist. All right, that was a question. Let's see if there are any other questions. So could you demo a reset button to restart the P5 sketch? Great question. From an HTML button. Okay, hold on. Oh, there's a bunch of questions here which are good. So let me get to all of them. The reset button is a bit of a longer one. I'll actually make that into a video. It'll probably just take 5 or 10 minutes, and I want to save that as its own chunk. Leandra asks, can you show the code output again, please? So this is this. I will post this code. Will get posted on GitHub and linked from the video description as soon as I get to that later today. Do P5 objects have a default constructor? I think what you're meaning, what you're asking is if you said something like this, something like that, what will happen? So you can see actually something did happen. It probably put an empty 100 by 100 canvas just right here. So there is apparently a default constructor. It will do something, but nothing happens at all in it, which is interesting to see. So I made a P5 sketch. It just doesn't have any code associated with it. Is multiple canvases very different than using Create Graphics? That's a great question. So it's very similar conceptually. It's exactly the same idea, but Create Graphics does not actually create a DOM element canvas that's viewable, that's associated with a setup and a draw. So I'm having trouble answering this because I can barely understand it myself, but Create Graphics makes a canvas. Create Canvas makes a canvas, but Create Canvas is like a special P5 function that makes a canvas that's associated with a setup and a draw, whereas Create Graphics just makes the canvas element itself. So if you want a canvas that you can kind of control in the P5 way, you've got to use Create Canvas, multiple ones, you've got to use instance mode, but you can make multiple canvases that you're kind of controlling and manipulating in your own special way simply with Create Graphics. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so both XP asks, could you demo a reset button from an HTML button to restart a P5 sketch? And this is a great question. So let me get myself prepared here, and let's think about. Let me actually open up an example. I'm hesitate to do the flocking one because it's got so much involved. But let me open up the flocking one, and yeah, this will work because when I hit reset, I want the stuff to start over again from the beginning. Okay, and I want to make an HTML button. Okay, and let me just see here, DOM library is included. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to take out some of these comments that are overly long. What else? Oh yeah. Oh, this is all as one. That's interesting. Where is there? I just want to, it bothers me that the scrolling is an issue. Oh, well, there's nothing I can do about that. Never mind. This is silly what I'm doing. Sorry, everybody. I was trying to make it so it wouldn't scroll left and right, but there's really no way around that. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of this and put it in flock.js. Sorry, I'm just preparing this example. And here, flock.js. So there's less code. Why is it doing that? Come on. OP5 editor. How you torture me. Save. That's weird. All right, fine. Oh, because it's in the examples. Flocking. Okay, great. Sorry, everybody. And let's see here. And I'm doing silly things that are totally unnecessary to get ready to answer this question. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is look at, I'm going to leave this sketch with no comments. Simple sketch. I'm going to look at how we add a button to this sketch, and whenever you click the button, the sketch restarts. Okay. Now, incidentally, I'm not going to mention this in the video, but incidentally, if I was using instance mode, I could just like kill that object and maybe remake it, but I don't think that's really a good way of doing it, so I'm going to do it a different way in this video. There's some other questions that people are asking. I'll come back to them after I do this. Okay, so here we go. This is a great question. Hello, in this video, the wall scratched me in a weird way. Okay. Hi, a question just came in the live chat. How do you create an HTML button that when you press that button, your P5 sketch restarts itself? So I'm going to look very quickly at how to do that in this particular video. So I have one of the P5 examples called flocking. It's running a flocking simulation. There's a lot of code involved with this, but we can see that actually what's in setup and draw is quite simple, and mostly all the code is happening in other objects. How that works is not really the content of this video. I want to look at how we're going to have the sketch restart with a button. So first of all, let's at least look, how do we add the button to this page? So the way that you can add a button in a P5 sketch is using the P5 DOM library. And you want to make sure that you've got the DOM library included. If you're using this desktop editor, which by the time you watch this video might be completely different or obsolete, but the main thing here is you want to make sure in your index.html file that you're referencing the P5 DOM library, which I am here as well, because the button is not part of just the plain vanilla P5 library. So that's already set for me, and as soon as that's true, I can say create button, and I'll pass a single argument to that function, reset. So now if I run the sketch, you can see here, I'm going to shrink this down a little bit. There we go. You can see all the way here at the bottom, there's a button that says reset. Now, of course, if I were to click this button, nothing's going to happen because I haven't actually attached any event to it. So I need to attach an event to that button. The way that I attach an event to that button is, first of all, I need a variable to store a reference to that button so that I can say button.mousePressed reset sketch. So what I want to do is that this particular button that's on the page, when I press that button, I want to execute a function called reset sketch, which will somehow reset the sketch. Now, reset sketch isn't some function that exists as part of P5. It's a name that I just made up because I'm going to write it. Now, your instinct might be to do this. Just call setup. Setup is a function. Whenever I press the button, call setup again. Let's try that. Let's save our code. And let's see what happens. Now, weirdly, that worked, but look what's happening. Like, more buttons are being added. All sorts of things are happening, right? Because everything, create canvas was called again, which is a little bit of a problem. So this is a bad idea. Even though this kind of worked, I don't want to tie the setup function to a particular event, which is why I said I want to make my own function called reset sketch. So what does that mean? I need to then write a function called reset sketch. And in this function is where I want to put all the code that should happen when a sketch is restarted. So you might be gathering now watching this video realizing, oh, there's not a way to just do this automatically. And I would say there really isn't. It's up to you to kind of define what it means to reset a sketch and then execute that code at the appropriate time. The good news for you is I can say, you know what I think it means to reset a sketch? I think it means only to do this stuff. It means to make a new flock object and to add 100 voids to that flock object. So I can take that code and put it into reset sketch. And you know what I can do even better than that? I don't need, your instinct might have been to do this, oops, to take that code and copy it in there. And now this is actually good, right? You see the sketch is running, I hit the button. Every time I hit the button, it's resetting the sketch. So you could say that we're done, but I don't like this. I just duplicated this entire block of code down here in this function. And what if I want to change what's happening when I reset the sketch, but also have that happen in setup? Well, the fact that I made this reset sketch function means I can also call it in setup. So basically now, if we look at setup's code, this is wonderful. What setup does is it basically says, create a canvas, set up the sketch, and by the way, make a button that if you ever press that button, set up the sketch again. So basically everything associated with starting the sketch is in reset sketch except for making the canvas, which I really only want to do once, and making the reset button, which I really only want to do once. So now if I run this sketch, we can see there it is flocking, and if I hit reset, every time I hit that button, it resets the sketch. And this, my friends, is a less than 5-minute tutorial video. And I'm so tempted to keep talking, but lest I go over 5 minutes, I'm going to hit stop. So hopefully you found this useful. If you make your own button or something that resets a sketch, let me know and share it in the comments or ask questions in the comments, and I will get back to you. And this code will also, the code for the sketch, 4 minutes, 45 minutes, the code for the sketch will also be posted to GitHub. And a link will be in the description. Goodbye. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to go back and look at some of the questions. I don't know what I do with my phone. Here it is, because I'm just checking to see if I have any important messages, which it doesn't look like I do. It's 1:20. Okay, so let me look at some of these questions. Oh, La Champleur asked a really great question. Oh, you know what? Let me add that. I'll tack it on to the end. That was a great question, because frame count didn't get reset. Let's see if we can fix that. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna hit record. So much for my short video. A question came up in the chat, which I think is an important one, which is, what about frame count? So let's look at this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to also create a paragraph. Create P, and I'm going to put the words frame count in it. And I'm also going to say I want it to appear kind of large. So if I run this sketch now, oops, that's way too large. You can see here I've got frame count here. So what I want to do now in draw is say text, HTML, the actual frame count variable. Let's see. So you can see now, you can see a problem with my brilliant solution, which is that as the sketch is running, the frame count is going up and up and up. And if I hit reset, that frame count did not reset. Right? Because I didn't really restart P5 as a whole. I just restarted all the stuff for my sketch. So global things in P5 are continuing. However, I have a feeling that we can actually just, overwrite frame count, and P5 will just be like, that's fine, you take care of it if you want. So if I do that and run it and then hit reset, that didn't work. It doesn't, because it's probably keeping track of it somewhere else in a different variable. Oh boy. Okay, pause video. Actually, we keep recording video. Maybe this will be a separate, I don't know what to do. Okay, well, let's figure this out. Let me see if there's some other questions here. And I'm going to show you guys how to determine what the answer to this is. But I'll keep going. I'll get to those other questions later. So what we need to do is look in the P5 actual source code. So I'm looking in the P5 source code, and I'm going to look for anywhere frame count is mentioned. Oh, it's in so much of the documentation. That's so unfortunate. Set property frame count, this dot frame count plus 1. This happens in the draw function during the loop. So I'm looking in, like, is there a different, like this dot set property. Let's look for that function. This dot property window, if it's global window dot property. So I wonder if I do something like this dot frame count, no, or window dot frame count. Weird, right? Because what am I missing here? Because prop value window prop bind this. This dot frame count plus 1. I don't know how to get. It's weird that I'm not able to get access to that variable. All right, hold on. Let's look for other places. There must be some other. That's the really. Where is it? Where does it get its first value? 0. So I'm stumped here. Maybe somebody in the chat. I'm gonna have to go look this up. I'm gonna have to look at this later. Somebody in the chat might have an idea. I'm gonna answer some other questions. Somebody else. Okay. So can a P5 object setup and draw function be modified once it has been created? Yes, it can. However, note that setup will never get executed again. So if you modify the P5 sketch object setup function later, that's not going to make any difference. But if you modify the draw function while draw is being called continuously, that new draw function will be executed. That's probably a question related back to the video I made previously about instance mode. Okay. Any thoughts on the ITP camp in June? Will you be in attendance? Okay, so somebody asks ITP camp. So I'm just going to go there, itp.nyu.edu/camp. There is a 4-week program at ITP. You can look at the information about it, read about it. It's a fun, interesting program to meet people, do some interesting projects. It's un-university, unconference type of style thing. So I do recommend it. I think it's a great experience. I have to say that I don't know that I'll be around it that often this particular summer. So, but I would encourage you, if you're interested in more stuff with creative code and then taking a look at it. That was not a very good answer to this question. Okay. Is it looking at the time the sketch ran and computed from there with the problem? Yeah, I don't think it is. Because if I look at the P5, if I look at, it's just incrementing the current frame count and adding 1 to it. Okay, so let me comment this out. Right, I'm actually modifying the P5 source code right now. If I comment that out and run my sketch, you can see that it's not going up. Now, what if I in draw say this? It is going up. And then what if I do this? Well, that was not. Now, I'm able to override it. But so basically, this answer is kind of like just make your own variable. So here's an interesting question, though. What happens if I put that back in and increment it? Is it going up by 2? I can't tell. Let's make the frame rate slower. 2, 3, 4. Oh, it did it once. It did it like the first time through draw. Boy, I'm really stumped with this one. If Lauren McCarthy were here, I'm sure she would know the answer to it instantly. But I'm going to look at this and get back to you, live stream viewers. I'm really thinking about this. Because if I look at the implementation, this is the thing that's doing it. This is the same variable, right? If I say console.log this.frame count. Oh, you know, it's not, I guess this console log doesn't show up here. Epsilon. I don't know. I don't know what to say. There's obviously something that I'm missing. And it probably has to do with this. Okay, hold on a sec. Let's leave this here. But this will cause other problems. Yeah. Oh, bind this. Okay, I'm stumped. I'm gonna have to look at this later. Let me see if there's any other questions. All right. So I mean, I went down a bit of a rabbit hole here. The truth of the matter is, it's not that big of a deal, because if I really want to solve this problem, here's what I would choose to do. I would just make up my own variable called frame counter. I would set it equal to 0. I would say frame counter equals 0 in reset sketch. And then at the very, very end, I would say frame counter plus plus. So now you can see, oh, and I can take this out. And this can just start as 0. And if I run this, you can see now, oh, right, this has to say frame counter. And now you can see that every time I hit the reset button, that will also restart. So I think the answer in this case is, if you really need that reset button, you might just be better off kind of making up your own variable, not using the P5 global one. I think I got like 3 extra gray hairs during that little sequence right here. Okay, I'm gonna do a little whatever for 5 minutes while see if anybody has any last questions. I'm just over here looking to make sure everything recorded properly, and I will wait a little bit to see if there's any last questions in the chat. 626. Anyway, so I made a tutorial today. Let me look at all of these. Let's copy these over. Oops. Sorry, I'm copying some videos and copying these over. Let's see if this works. Ooh, no, too much. This is the new video. That's from the other day. That's from the other day. Oops, sorry everybody. I'm going to check the chat in a second to see what questions there are. Okay, I think I'm good now for the videos I recorded. Okay, what's the next video topic? Well, I'm done for today, unfortunately. So for the next video topic, but let's talk about what I hope to do. So I had, you know what I need to do for a second? Where I'm lost. Oh, I lost my preview, that's why. I just need to record something with the whiteboard, just so I can see what it looks like later. Because next week, I'm hoping to get to, the things that I'm hoping to do is make Chrome extension. 3 big things I want to do is make a whole set of videos on how to make a Chrome extension. I want to make a whole set of videos about Git and GitHub. And then I want to return back to the Connect and computer vision stuff and make more of those. And in terms of, I did the P5 instance mode, and then there's some other little ones that I might like to do at some point. But that's what I'm hoping to do at this point, probably next week. I might have a chance to make a video or 2 tomorrow. But what I want to do before I go is I'm going to hit record. And going to come over here. Oops, this camera is off. I just want to see how this looks. So pretend I'm talking to you, which I actually am, and I'm using this whiteboard marker, and I'm going to say something like function. Yeah, there's too many shadows. I don't think I have the lighting good here. Function setup, function draw. We went to wrap these up into P5 instance mode, and maybe there will be a scary creature who is actually really friendly with rainbows and a unicorn. I don't know, smiling. Okay, and then if I draw down here, is this too low? And if I walk over here and I talk to the camera and gesture over here, I'm going to take a look at what this looks like. You guys can tell me, was that sort of legible, the lighting? There's this kind of bad shadow up here because I have these lights up above, but there's a big bar pipe in here, so it's causing a bit of a shadow. Plus I have this light down here, which was for the green screen, which is shadowing. Let me turn this off for a second. Is this better? Still, I don't know if this is better. Turn that light off. Turn this light on. I don't know, it's brighter down here. You can see maybe I need another one over here. I just need more lights, I think. Okay, but that was good. Okay, check the chat. I'm gonna hit stop because I want to take a look at this video later to see what it looked like. I'll put that in here. Oh, keep both. Okay, oops, that camera went off. These cameras shut off after 30 minutes, which I actually could fix, but okay. P5 sketches with Express. Can you show how to make it work real quick? Well, I don't. So there's not really. I'm a little confused by that question. I'm probably just not understanding something. But basically, a P5 is a client-side library only. So what you could do is host your HTML, JavaScript files with an Node Express app, and actually. I do this. Let me see if this is on my list, because I made some Node. If I go to I made a kind of basics of Node video for the Twitterbot stuff, but I think I should do. I should add a somewhere here. I should add a little bit. There's more stuff that I think in terms of where. How come I'm missing this? Where's the Twitterbot one? Here it is. Node plus P5. Serve P5 sketch. Do the proxy data querying is something you might want to do, as well as save to a file database. So these are some things that I do want to make videos about actually at some point. Which is that there's certain things that you can't do client-side, like save data to a server. You can do that, you can use a Google spreadsheet actually from the client side, or use there used to be this thing called Parse, but that's since been shut down, and someone, I believe Firebase, a student in ITP gave me a recommendation to look at Firebase. So there are certain things you might want to do if you use Node as your server programming with P5 as your client programming. All my videos have pretty much just been only client programming. The server stuff is actually happening because of the P5 editor, or wherever you're uploading your sketches, there just happens to be a server there already. But if you want to program your own server, there is some interesting things you can do. And I do have notes about this in, if I go to schiffman.github.io. So here, I do have some examples. This is a course that I taught last fall. Somewhere in here, Node, under Node maybe, Node and APIs, week 11. I believe that I have some more stuff about using Node in connection with, and so I want to make some video tutorials about that. So I will, that's a good thing to add to my list. Boy, not enough time, I'm going to be doing this all the way through the summer, so hopefully I'll get to all this stuff. Okay, so thank you everyone for tuning in today. I'm going to upload those videos, the instance mode video and the resetting the P5.js sketch with a button video. I'll be back next week making more. Send me some feedback either on Twitter or something, or email, or in the comments of how this whiteboard thing looked. Or if anybody as a lighting expert and want to offer some help, particularly if you're like an ITP student and happen to be watching this. I'll be at ITP for a little bit tomorrow, so maybe you can talk to you about it. Okay, I'm gonna sign off now. I'm gonna hit this button and sign off. Okay, see you later, everybody.